Here.
Councilman Morrow.
Here.
Councilman Stefano.
Here.
Councilman Van Cleef.
Here.
Supervisor Cleveland.
Here. Thank you very much, and welcome to the Town of Ulster Town Board Workshop for Thursday, November 5th, 2020. Hopefully, for those of you out there on Facebook Live, we have addressed the audio problems, and you can hear the town board deliberate. With that, we have any additions or changes to the agenda?
None from me.
No.
None? Are there any individuals here tonight who would like to discuss anything that is on the agenda? Remember, we have open podium at the end of the meeting for public comment on any topic that any individual wishes to talk about. Thank you very much. Communications,
I have no communications, please.
committee reports. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Mr. Secreto, on behalf of Recreation.
Starts with the parks. Post Park has closed. I want to say thanks to the workers for keeping the park in the best condition it was ever in. Ryder Park, the boat launch is still open. Frank, you have any idea when the docks are coming out? Weather depending. And I'll let everybody know when that happens. We're in the process of upgrading each mini park with the lining of basketball courts and improving playground equipment. I've talked to Susie. We'll meet with our rec committee and go over some things that we need to discuss. Softball is over for the men and the women. Changes were made along the way to better the league. And we also have more changes to come for next year. Hopefully, during our meeting with the rec, we'll be able to talk about the Easter egg hunt somehow, see if we can get that going. I want to thank the water, sewer, highway departments for all their help in getting these parks ready. Also, thanks go out to the clerk's office and the supervisors, Secretary Peggy King, for them doing all the paperwork. I also want to say thanks to Chief Berardi and the police, because with the COVID going on, the parks became a hangout. There wasn't a lot of places to go. He upped his patrols, and they came in very handy. And last but not least, happy birthday to our highway superintendent, Frankie Petromov. And that's it on rec.
We've met on a monthly basis and reviewed and done the financial review of all the bills that were paid. And as of now, there's been no concerns or no problems. Everything seems to be well within order.
Very good. And who's going to take personnel?
Okay. Yep. Okay, for the Personnel Committee, Mr. Kitchen and I have made an attempt at successful. We are interviewing all potential and final candidates for all new hires within the town, with the exception of seasonal rehires and temporary positions, and we don't interview staffing for the highway department. We have recently worked with the police and justice departments on their staffing needs. We are currently working with the building inspector, Warren Tutt, to fill a position in his department. We have and are attempting to meet with department heads to conduct personnel reviews and find out where we can be of help. We recently had a disciplinary hearing regarding an employee conduct issue. The supervisor, department head, shop steward, and employee were all present. This was the first time that I've been involved in a meeting like this for our town. I want to and must commend each individual involved for conducting themselves in a peaceful and honest way, resulting in a mutually agreed upon course of disciplinary action. We talked it out and we worked it out. We look forward to working together with our departments and labor leaders in maintaining a good working environment.
Any other board member who would like to make a comment on any other aspect of the town's operations that they
I just want to make a comment about the town hall and our new ADA compliant doors we have right there. Councilman Corrado and I worked on that.
Very good. Anyone else?
Did you want now a report about the police review, or is that?
We'll take that at the end.
Okay, very good.
Gentlemen, proceeding to the agenda before we get to lawsuits that are filed against the town on real estate tax assessments, mostly by the commercial owners in the community. We are required to hire an appraiser to establish a value, and that is the primary evidence for the court case.
I'll make that motion.
We're going to make that motion at the next meeting. The next item comes to us from the Town of Ulster Planning Board. The resolution for the site plan and lot line adjustment for Romeo Kia dealership, 1694, section block and lot 39.82-2-3, about 110 and 120. This is a conditional approval that gives the building inspector, Warren Tutt, as the official administrative officer of the building department, the final say on the issuance of the building permit. We have conditions established by the planning board, and then an overriding condition established by the town board related to the care and maintenance of the previous Kia site adjacent to the Holiday Inn Express. It is the intention and desire of the town board that the owner of the property address issues that were created during the tree cutting and development of the parcel before they abandoned placing the Kia dealership in that location. So may I have a motion to adopt the resolution as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion from the board on the resolution?
I have a question. What would be an example of what they're going to do to resolve the problems next
There
to?
are two specific issues related to the site development of the previous location. One is all site plan approvals require the maintenance of a stormwater plan.
Mhm.
That has not been complied with. That is a DEC compliance issue. In addition, there have been notices from the adjacent property owners that due to the clear cutting by the contractor, when the town graciously allowed the owner to cut the trees in anticipation of doing this construction, they went further than they should have based upon the site plan approval. It is the expectation of myself that there will be some type of landscaping provided for so that the adjacent property owners' issues are addressed.
Okay.
I leave it up to the adjacent property owners to set the standard as to what it is that's going to. Mr. Secreto?
You probably got the same phone call I got the other night from Dave Brink. There's a sign up at the property that they want clean fill put in there. And I'm asking Warren, or a building inspector, to keep an eye on what they consider clean fill, what they're throwing in there now.
I have spoken to numerous contractors, well, site contractors, hauling contractors, informed them they are by no means allowed to dump anything on that property without first checking the property.
All right.
Okay, good.
Mr. Secreto, despite what the sign may say, Mr. Tutt and I have had numerous conversations that, given the fact that we have an expired site plan, we have no idea what's contemplated for that site.
Mm-hmm.
Under no conditions will any fill be allowed on that until the owner comes back for a site plan review.
Good. Very good.
All those in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Gentlemen, the next item is a resolution to initiate seeker and refer the application for review to the Ulster County Planning Board for urban precast. 6 to 8 Kiefer Lane, SBL 48.66-2-2.210. This is for a small addition to enclose an area where they have a process that is related to their operations. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Any discussion on the resolution? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Gentlemen, the third referral from the Town Planning Board relates to a resolution to initiate seeker and refer the application for review to the Ulster County Planning Board for Joseph Emmanuel, Project 813. It is located at 2332 Route 9W, section lot and block number 39.12-1-29. This is for a small addition to an existing building. I believe it's on 2 separate sides of the building. So they have a motion to accept the resolution as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the resolution? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The fourth item referred to the town board is a resolution for the change of use, site plan findings and recommendations for Glenary Cottages, 101-113 Glenary Boulevard, section block and lot 39.7-8-1-200. I have a motion to accept the resolution as presented.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Do we have any discussion on the motion?
Sure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Gentlemen, the fifth resolution from our planning board relates to site plan extension for the Lincoln Park Grid Support Center, Myron Lane and Frank Satile Boulevard, section block and lot 48.012-1-20, 48.016-1-1, and 48.016-1-2.21. This is a resolution to extend the site plan approvals previously granted by the town board for the battery-powered peaking center located on Myron Lane. There is an issue as it relates to Central Hudson's engineering of the power line that will interconnect the grid support center with the substation on Voices Lane. And in addition, conversations that I've had with GlidePath indicates that supply chain problems did occur during COVID and that they are trying to recover on supply chain. So there is a necessity to extend the site plan. May I have a motion to accept the resolution as presented?
So moved. Second.
Do you have any discussion on the resolution? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Gentlemen, the next resolution is to declare certain property surplus. In 1992, when the town was constructing John Clark Drive behind the Burlington Center, we obtained the right-of-way for the road, which included a small portion behind the house that is currently existing next to the railroad tracks, between the railroad tracks and John Clark Drive. Recently, it has come to my attention that there was an agreement, written agreement, memorializing the use of the vacant parcel behind the house by the owner of the house for his backyard. And the current owner of the house, who is the daughter of the signator on the agreement, has requested that she be allowed to buy the backyard and put it together with the house. Had a discussion with Mr. Petromall. We've had the property surveyed, and we've made sure that the property to be conveyed does not impact town's drainage right-of-ways or any other utility easements that are out there. And this resolution declares that parcel, as it is defined in the package, surplus to the town so that we can start the process of disposing of it. May I have a motion to accept the resolution as presented?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on the resolution?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I want to skip this discussion on the town's website and come back to it after I finish the motions and the resolutions. Gentlemen, in 1972, the town of Ulster obtained a easement and a license agreement from CSX to construct a sewer line underneath the railroad yard adjacent to Albany Avenue across from the Business Resource Center. In addition, at that time, the right-of-way went along the back of Billy Bryant's garage. And CSX is in the process of purchasing Billy Bryant's property. So this resolution is to authorize the supervisor to sign a facility encroachment agreement with CSX Transportation for the Ulster sewer line under the Kingston Yard and on the Billy Bryant's property that's being acquired. Mr. Kovacs, would you be able to say that this new agreement does not modify any of the rights or responsibilities, or does not diminish any of the rights that the town obtained in 1972, and does not increase any of the liabilities that the town had under that 1972 agreement?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So this agreement is neutral to the town, and it facilitates CSX's purchase of the facility which they use for maintenance purposes at the present time. May I have a motion to accept the resolution?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion on the matter? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The request of several town board members, including Rocco Secreto, we have a resolution in here renaming the Ulster Mill Park on Elmendorf Drive in the town of Ulster to the Eagle Scout Park. This is to memorialize the fact that we've had this park improved through the auspices of several Eagle Scout projects. So we want to name it in the honor of the Eagle Scouts in general. So I ask for a motion to accept the resolution renaming the Ulster Mini Park.
I'll make the motion. Second.
A motion by Mr. Secreto and a second by Mr. Morrow. Any discussion on the matter?
Good idea.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Gentlemen, I want to take the next three together. They are a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the engagement letters with the external auditors for the town of Ulster's 2020 financial statements, the town of Ulster Justice Court special reports, the town of Ulster town clerk and receiver of taxes special reports. So we have a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign said agreements.
So, second.
Okay, any discussion on the matter? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Gentlemen, in conclusion, there is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the final 2017-2019 memorandum of agreement by and between the town of Ulster, the town of Ulster Police Benevolence Association.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion on the matter? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I would like to do the public hearing and then come back to the discussion on the town's website. So it is 7:20. We have a scheduled 7:10 public hearing on the preliminary budget. I ask for a motion to open the meeting. So moved. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to open the floor, public comment on the town of Ulster's 2021 preliminary budget. As I said, we will take comments tonight. We will discuss them amongst ourselves, and we will then bring the revised budget back for the final vote at the 19th of November. I have public comment. Mr. Regis Obolesky. Eric, can you get him the microphone?
May I take my mask off?
Absolutely. Just let him give you the button.
Okay, thanks.
The red button on. You'll be good.
Okay, thanks, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Regis Obajeski, 170 Ledge Road, Town of Ulster. And here also representing the Town of Ulster Citizens.org. I had given copies in advance at the request of the town to everyone. Rather than reading that, I was told, particularly by my wife, that it's a little boring. So if it's okay, what I'll do is I'll just speak from some note cards and not take as much time reading the document. Anybody else that wants a copy of this ever read? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Supervisor. We think that the preliminary budget demonstrates a lot of work by the town board and eliminating about $225,000 from the tentative budget. And so that's really, I think, very, very good news. And there still is a hole there, still a gap to be taken care of about $56,000, which isn't really much these days. What we're asking is that $56,000 gap by an unassigned fund balance of $1.7 million that's available. And we think that would be at least a very nice gesture to the people of the town of Ulster, many of whom have gone through difficult times during this pandemic. So that's going to be the request now, and then at the end of my remarks. We think that the preliminary budget also shows that there's going to be a little less money coming in. The taxable value of certain commercial properties, some of which were in the paper, Walmart and Lowe's, I guess, and perhaps others, had won a reduction for their 2021 proactive, which was very nice and very good negotiation on the part of the town. We'd also like to offer, being the Town of Ulster citizens, any help that the town would request in terms of participating in maybe scripted messages, either telephone calls to legislators or the governor's office, or letters for that matter, that would also be scripted. So we'd offer our assistance in that, and that is basically related to the dark store principle, where that becomes part of the comparables, and so commercial enterprises are looking for reduction in their taxes, and so we certainly agree with the town board's judgment on that. It was as exemplified in the last town board meeting. The other thing that we learned in looking at the proposed budget, the preliminary budget, is that, and this is no surprise, it's the same every year, that it's very personnel intensive. And if there are savings to be realized, that's an obvious place, probably a painful one, but an obvious place to look. We also found it particularly helpful and instructive to look at the audited financial statements. And we looked at the last 3 years, and particularly 2019. And these are the audited statements that I see. It's later in the agenda, looking to engage them once more. EFPR, the firm out in Williamsville in Western New York. And we find it instructive for several reasons, because we think that it gives a clearer, bigger picture understanding of what are some of the principles and the thinking in creating a budget. So it denotes complete fiscal years. So when we're doing a budget for the town, we're doing it on basically 3/4 of the year, or a little bit more than that, in terms of what we understand the books to be. So, and it's also independent. And so there's a certain attractive quality to that. Not that there's any distrust there, but it really lends credence to what you do. And it speaks to the cumulative nature of the picture of the town. So the cumulative nature of assets, the cumulative nature of liabilities, the cumulative nature of fund balances. And when we were looking at the audits, we really were concentrating on 5 basic questions, very, very simple questions that we found answers to. One was where does the town's money come from? It's a very simple question. The second is where does it go? The third is there any money left over at the end of a fiscal year? And the 2 other questions are, can we meet our short-term financial obligations? And can we meet our long-term financial obligations? And those are the 5 questions that we really, we felt very, very important, and that the financials really were able to provide for us. So to the first question, where does the money come from? Obviously, it comes from a number of different sources, I think 11 sources, but almost 80% comes from taxes. Again, no big surprise, but it really bears on this discussion of why we're having a hearing in the first place. Most of where does the money go? Most of it goes to personnel expenses, because we are very personnel intensive, and so over 90% of our expenses go for people, and then just keeping the local government going. The third question, is there any money left over? And the answer is yes. And what the financials reveal is that we save about 8% a year, which is pretty nice. It's pretty good. And from a personal point of view, we'd all like to be able to save 8% of what we make. So there's some real discipline going on there, and that certainly is to be recognized. And that money left over for 2019 was $1.4 million. And that's added to previous fiscal years. And this is part of that cumulative character of the financial statements or the financial audits. So the previous years we had $12.2 million. So the 1.4 is added to the 12.2. Our short-term expenses, can we carry on business on a regular basis and every day? And the answer is absolutely yes. And so we have a very strong cash position, and there are 2 ways to look at it. One of them is a thumbnail sketch, which is called the current ratio. So you look at your current assets and your current liabilities. So the current assets become the numerator, and the current liability is the denominator. And whenever that's 1.0, if it's 1-to-1, you're in business. You're still alive. You're in decent shape. If it's 2.0, it's great. Ours is more than 10. So I don't say that as a criticism, but if you look at it from that simple little exercise, we're 10 times better than break even, which is a very good position to be in. The last question is our long-term liabilities, and our long-term liabilities, the lion's share of those are retirement benefits. These are ongoing, and serial bonds. So those are the big numbers, and so it really the long-term liabilities really have to do with our net position, and so is our net position good? Well, you know, we have our total liabilities really exceed our total assets by about $7 million. And I don't think that's alarming to anyone. So the only comment I want to make on that is the same comment that EFPR has made, at least in the 3 years of statements that we've looked at, and that is that the $22 million valuation of our capital assets, because when you take our total liabilities, you have to put next to them our capital assets and our fund balances, and our capital assets are listed at about $22 million. It's not that the our auditors dispute this. They don't, but they say we can't verify it. And the reason they can't verify it, and I've had this conversation with our supervisor before, is because we don't have an accurate and ongoing inventory of our capital assets, and we don't show the depreciation and amortization costs that are related to that. So I bring that up because they do. So the answer is, can we manage our long-term liabilities? Is, yeah, very likely. It's just that it's not really verifiable. We haven't really backed it up accurately. Is it a good guess? There's no doubt in my mind that it's a pretty good one. So the town works, in conclusion, the town works, we think, very hard in building up our fund balance for rainy days and for our long-term financial liabilities. The fact of the matter is, we have not just rainy days, but we have sunny days, and we have a fair amount of cash, and that's due to the excellent management of our town. And we think that that cash that we have, particularly on assigned fund balance, can wipe out at least this year the gap of $56,000. So that's our comments. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I want to compliment you on your review of the town's historical documents, but I would also ask that you take into consideration the town's fund policy,
Yes.
which is on our website, and minutes from the May and June town board meeting for the last 3 years, where the supervisor provides to the town board a fund balance review, and it identifies future uses for the reserves, for contributions to the reserves, and their purposes in keeping the town's infrastructure.
Yes, and thank you for that, Council. And I have looked at it, and it's very much in line with what GASB, the Government Accounting Standards Board, requires with regard to money that can't be touched, some that's restricted, some that's unrestricted, and so the town has done that. I'm not suggesting to anyone that the fund balance, as robust as it is a free-for-all piece of change for the town or anybody to have at it. I know that. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other individuals? Recommendations at the next board meeting. Returning to our agenda under new business. Suzanne, would you like to lead us in the discussion of the town website development and hosting proposal that you have developed for the town's website?
Sure, the town of Ulster for years.
previously. Resolution has been presented to the town board at the request of Frank Metropolitan Highway Superintendent. Create a road repair reserve under general law 6.f, the highway fund. The intention of this road repair reserve on the state unspent monies that were appropriated for blacktop pavement, in a year when it's not totally sold, to set it aside permanently for future use of blacktop. Is approved for the highway determines that a project requires $600,000. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is reference to topics worked on last week. Can you please bring the board up to speed on it?
Sure. We reviewed the governor's mandate that we come up with a plan, disaster plan, which has to involve the entirety of the town government as an employer. The example was given that in the COVID crisis in the beginning, that we were having to develop plans as we went. The governor has determined that it's going to be required that by April 15th, that every employer, every municipal employer, have a plan in place that is rather detailed. It's more than I think we can handle in-house. As we have the example here, we can contract with this company. They have a lot of experience in this area, and they can deliver to us, work with us and deliver to us a package which is not just the fulfillment of a mandate, but I think will be a useful package going forward in developing emergency procedures, which we're not woefully in need of, but I think would be I am confident we need, plus we have to do it. But I've been talking with some other people in departments. I think it'll be useful. I think it'll be helpful.
They have helped any other towns around?
They haven't helped towns specifically in this because it's a new mandate. But in their prospectus that they sent us, they've worked with some significant companies and significant government agencies to develop similar things, but never on a broad statewide things such as this. But in their prospectus and the conversation I have with them, they seem fully aware of what this need is, fully aware of what we have to do. And part of the agreement is that they will deliver us a product that we will be able to act upon and deliver to the state.
Association of Towns had a conference call. I believe there was about 100 municipalities participating in, where the proposed vendor here made a presentation, went through the detailed plan, gave a template for the plan, but there is a lot of bottoms up work that's got to be done to populate the template, and there's a lot of interaction between the consultant and the department head to fully flush out what the risk factors might be that needs to be addressed. We just can't go and take the template that's provided, change the names and say, oh, I got a plan. It's got to be specific to the operations of the community.
And we do have to work with the our labor, our unions, because we have to put forward a proposal and we have to present it to them. So the recommendation is, rather than just present it to them, is that we get them involved early on. So this company would work remotely. There wouldn't be any cumbersome meetings, but would work remotely with department heads and with labor to try to come up with a plan that is acceptable by all. But the group that needs to accept it is this board. But we'd like to expand it to have everyone accept it. So
Do you have a recommendation?
I recommend that we accept this and we authorize the supervisor to sign the contract that's in our packet.
I think our biggest problem is going to be with the union. How long is that going to take? That's the problem. We need it by April, right?
my first interaction with them, I don't think I share your concern, because they seem to have as much a desire that we come up with a plan. And a lot of this is going to be we have to work within state mandates. It's just bringing it all together. And there's going to have to be some give and take.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Craig makes the motion. Any further discussion on the matter? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Gentlemen, the last item on our agenda is a motion to set a public hearing for the Spring Lake Sewer District Performance Hearing for Thursday, November 19th, 2020 at 7:10 p.m. This is a requirement of the Small Cities Program that the town is utilizing under a grant for construction of the Spring Lake Sewer District. It is to wrap up the project and to take public input on the public's opinion about the value of this project. I have a motion to set the public hearing. Okay. Any discussion on the matter? All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, before we call for public comment, I'd ask Mr. Berardi, Chief Berardi and Mr. Van Cleave to discuss, give us an update on the police committee that is meeting weekly, I believe now.
Well, we're broke up into several subcommittees, of which Chief Berardi has been intimately involved with all of them, because they keep calling in with questions, realizing that I don't know the answer to any of the questions. So it works out fine that they're calling him. As we have talked about it, we're moving right along, and Chief Berardi can give us a summary of where we are right now. And just so you all know, the schedule that we gave you, we feel comfortable, and actually we're going to be able to move it up a bit. We're going to try to be a few weeks ahead of schedule. This group is working well together. Well, they're working well together so far. So.
After several months into this, I think we're at, like Councilman McKee said, I think we're at a good point. We have a very diverse background, coming up with a lot of great ideas. We're on our way. We're scheduling another group meeting. Since we have split off, we've been back at least one time as a whole group to kind of get a timeline and an idea of where they're at. Next week, again, we're going to meet again as a large group, discuss where to formalize some of their ideas and kind of gather them together. And then we're looking for scheduling a town hall in December sometime, early December, middle of December, before the holidays come around, just so we can have some more input for people that aren't on the committee from the public that would like to come. We'll try to accommodate everybody either in person or virtually, and so they can give their comments and suggestions. Maybe we can come up with more ideas. At that point, I think once we get those ideas, we'll get back together and start working on those, fine tuning a lot of good things, like I said, that we've worked on so far. And we're looking forward to January, February, moving right along. And before you know, we're looking to get it approved by the board by March. So like Councilman said, I'm very confident of where we are at right now. A lot of good ideas, a lot of questions, which are always good. The subcommittee are doing well because what they're doing is they're emailing me most of their questions or some of my other members. So they're giving me time to answer them instead of firing them off in an open meeting. So I think that's working well. Ms. Murphy here is on one of the subcommittees, and she's been more than cooperative with me about answering questions. So I feel we're at a good point. I'm confident, and I'm happy to be working with this group. And I think the members of my department that have been on this subcommittee, I think they formalized some pretty good friendships over this time period of working with these individuals, and hopefully we'll foster a better relationship with the community.
If I could add to that, is we asked this committee to be careful to focus specifically on the town of Ulster. That it's very easy for us all to become distracted, appropriately maybe in some cases, but distracted by what's going on nationally, when our mission is to focus on specifically the town of Ulster. And there have been temptations at times to get distracted, but this group has worked really well about bringing it back home, that this is being developed for home. When this first came up, we were all a little apprehensive, thought we were going to be put under pressure for something unrealistic. Thankfully, this group is coming together, and I believe that they will be able to bring back to this board a valuable plan, a valuable set of ideas that we're going to be able to look at and work with. So I just want to thank them all. I'm just really impressed.
Very good. Any other comments from the board members? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to open the floor to general comment. Anyone here tonight who would like to address the town board on any matter? Feel free to come to the podium. Motion is adjourned. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.